What if I told you that a scrappy Chicano from East LA who had a tough upbringing and a penchant for troublemaking ended up owning a Scottish castle? Yeah, you heard that right. A man in his 70s, a commanding presence at 6'1", with a politically incorrect bluster and skin as tough as rhino hide beneath his tailored business suits. Dan Penna, or as he likes to call himself, the $1 trillion man, is a self-made entrepreneur who defied all the odds to become a successful businessman and a Scottish laird. In this video, we'll explore how Penna transformed himself as a troubled youth in East Los Angeles to a successful businessman and Scottish laird, berating 24 students, each paying $30,000 for a seat at his lecture in his 16th century Scottish castle, Guthrie Castle. It's a tale of reinvention, grit, and determination that will leave you inspired and entertained. Penna's journey to riches in Scottish castles started in a modern wood-framed house in a barrio just north of downtown LA. Dan Penna's father, Manuel Penna, a cold and brutal man, was a tough LAPD detective who had a reputation for taking the law into his own hands. He reportedly killed 11 people in the line of duty and was later involved with the secret unit of the CIA investigating Robert F. Kennedy's assassination. Needless to say, Dan's upbringing was anything but conventional. Penna himself was out of control as a kid and even tried to drop an aquarium on a teacher's head from a second-story window. His family moved to upper-class Encino when he was just 10 years old so that he would be raised among high achievers. Penna insists that his path to success started in grammar school, where he was forced to wear a dunce hat. When he got home, his father would beat him for getting in trouble at school. To hear Penna tell it, all the beatings and scoldings made me tougher. His teenage years were marked by an alcoholic haze and run-ins with the law. Despite this, his relatives always said, if Danny ever focuses all that anger on a career, he'll be a multi-millionaire. And they were right. Penna traces his desire to make money to his time in the army when he saw American tourists flashing rolls of cash, staying in posh hotels, and dining in 4-star restaurants. After leaving the army as a second lieutenant, Penna earned his bachelor's degree in business administration at Cal State Northridge and took a job with a real estate investment company in 1971. By year's end, he had been appointed the sales manager with a 6-figure salary and had cleaned out the department by firing 50 salesmen, a job he said had to be done. It earned him the name Hatchet Man. When the company failed, Penna became a stockbroker and then a financial planner. Not many outside of the oil industry knew his name until 1983, when Penna was featured in a Time story about a tiny number of Chicanos de Oro, wealthy Mexican Americans on their way to mega fortunes. At the time, Penna was bidding to buy a refinery and a petroleum terminal. If the oil refinery deal goes through, he said, I could either be rich beyond belief or lose everything, but you've got to dare. I won't be picked on. I'm not a victim of the sombrero syndrome. Don't try walking on Dan Penna. Penna would reap a fortune in the oil industry, but Penna didn't stop there. He continued to reinvent himself and develop a sharply opinionated conservative nature that reflects not merely his gotta keep busy to get rich personality, but also his us against them contempt for sniveling, lazy, entitled, and easily offended types who long for public approval and run for the hills when things get rough. But Dan's success was not limited to the business world. In 1984, he purchased Guthrie Castle in Scotland, a 15th century castle that was in ruins at the time. He spent millions of dollars renovating it and turning it into a lavish residence complete with a private cinema, helipad, and a room filled with antique guns. He also turned it into a business venture, renting out the castle for weddings, corporate events, and executive retreats. And it's not just any castle, mind you. It's a Scottish castle that comes with its own ghost and a rich history of clan warfare. Speaking of business seminars, Dan's seminars are not for the faint-hearted. He charges $30,000 per person, and his lectures are filled with expletives, insults, and politically incorrect bluster. He pokes and prods his students to transform them into hard-working entrepreneurs with skin as tough as rhino hide. And where does he hold these seminars? You guessed it, at Guthrie Castle. Talk about a unique seminar location. Dan Penna is not just a successful businessman, he's also a man with strong opinions. He's a self-described conservative, He's us against them, and he's not afraid to speak his mind, even if it means offending people. And yet, despite his abrasive nature, his students swear by him and credit him with changing their lives. It's this tough-as-nails attitude that has helped Penna become the successful entrepreneur he is today. And it's what he imparts to his students at Guthrie Castle in Scotland, where he lives a relatively quiet Scottish laird existence when he's not delivering his lectures. Dan Penna's journey from a troubled youth in East LA to a Scottish laird and a successful businessman is nothing short of remarkable. He defied all odds to become a self-made man and an inspiration to many aspiring entrepreneurs. His seminars may not be for everyone, but his message of hard work, determination, and a no-nonsense attitude is something we can all learn from. So, the next time you hear someone say that anything is possible, remember Dan Penna and his Scottish castle. If he can do it, so can you.